But and that's the other thing. A lot of times, because there's this split second type of thing, is that a lot of times, depending on the type of system that you have, like when I'm doing the program, The Right Group, at the radio station, was it 90 in Manchester, New Hampshire. Now, their system works a little bit differently from mine. I actually hear myself in the headphones. And there is that microsecond delay. Now, it's barely detectable, but it is detectable, but you can get used to it. But there is that delay. So you have to be conscious about what you're saying. You know, it's quite interesting how the voice transmits and how you hear yourself. Now, you're probably asking, why in the hell is he bringing that kind of stuff up? Now, if you've been listening to this program for any length of time, and if you're an ecclesiastic, you're not asking that question because you know what's coming. But if you're new to the program, you have got to understand that just about everything I say has meaning, and it leads to a point. This is no different. There is a point that I'm getting to, and I want you to be fully aware. This is why I go through this, to fully understand what I'm talking about so you get the full picture. That's what being an ecclesiastic is all about, getting the full picture. I just don't run around, and spout off and rant all the time. No, I mean, sometimes I rant, but my rants have purpose. But I don't rant all the time about, I'm not going to, rant off like some of the other guys on the radio that you hear without a purpose. No, I have a point. The point is that you do not hear yourself speak while you were speaking. This would explain, and oftentimes when you say something and people look at you or they laugh at you, or they correct you, you honestly, in your head, you say, well, if they correct you and saying, well, don't you mean this? And you respond honestly in your head saying, that's what I said. And they will tell you that is not what you said. And you will try to argue with them, but yeah, I did say that. Because in your head, what you were thinking overrode what you actually verbalized. And you heard traveling up your jawline something different, a different word was uttered out of your mouth than what you thought you said. That's why some people will look at you and say, well, no, you didn't say that. You said this. Now, I've been a victim of that. And I've had people say, well, what are you talking about? And I would look at them and say, well, I thought I was pretty clear. And there have been on occasion, where they would be able to play back what I said. And I'll look at them and say, I didn't say that. But obviously it's recorded and they didn't have time to change it. So, yes, I did say that. And it happens that way sometimes. There's a slight disconnect between the vocalization, the verbal stuff, and what you're thinking in your head. And it comes out a little bit differently. It happens to all of us. But you don't notice that until somebody points it out to you. Or until you hear a playback. And you'll think, I said that. That's not what I said. And then you'll say, well, that's not what I meant. Well, you have John Kerry out there who obviously cannot hear himself talk when he's talking. And he's got a problem that a lot of politicians have. They talk too much. And when I'm out in public, when I'm around other people, and you hear me on the radio. Well, I have to fill 2 hours of airtime. So, yeah, I talk a lot on the air. But if you ever notice, if I have a guest on the program, I don't tend to talk a lot. I let them do the talking. There's a reason for this. Because when you're out in public, especially if you're a politician, what politicians tend to forget is that they need to listen twice as much as they talk at minimum. But these idiosos out there, like John Kerry, they just want to spout off and pop off and keep talking all the time. And they do it because a lot of them are trained that if you're talking, then your opponent doesn't get to talk. So they don't get to get their point across as long as you're still talking. That's what filibustering is all about. Is you got to be up there on that podium and you got to be talking. And why? So other people cannot talk. So they can't get to the point and get to the business of the people and vote on a particular or discuss a particular bill or debate a particular bill or what have you. If you're up there, Rand Paul has done this a few times in his tenure as a senator. And it is meant to keep other people from talking. That's what politicians are geared to doing. And make no mistake about it, that John Kerry is nothing more than a politician. So his whole idea of being a good politician is talking too much. Well, the problem with talking too much is that you're going to eventually make a big boo-boo. You're going to, now you could call it a Freudian slip if you want to. I don't care what it's called. The point is that something comes out of your mouth that you did not intend to come out. Now, maybe what comes out of your mouth is the actual truth. And maybe that's what you're actually thinking, but that's not what you wanted to say. But that's what comes out. And we know what Kerry has said. Rationale, all that kind of crap. And he's trying to backpedal and trying to cover his tracks. The point is the damage is already done because he talks too much. The most dangerous politician on earth is not one that talks and tells you everything. The most dangerous politician on the earth is the one that does not talk and tells you nothing. But what we've got Kerry out there saying some stupid blank stuff, followed up by his boss, our president, not our boss, but Kerry's boss. We're the president's boss, we the people. But Kerry's boss, President Obama, is out there making statements and speeches that are just as idiotic. Now, you might want to say that, that's what he really means or that's what he really feels. That might be, but the president cannot hear himself talk. Nobody can. So when you talk too much and when you are not being cognizant of what you're saying, oftentimes you will say stuff that you will later regret or say stuff that you did not mean to say, or you use the wrong word intending to use something different to convey a different meaning. In other words, you make a verbal faux pas or verbal mistake for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Real Linda. See, I told you I was going to make a point here. Now you get the full breadth, the full rainbow, if you will, of what I'm talking about, don't you? See, all the ecclesiastites, they already know. I don't have to explain it to them. But unfortunately, they have to listen to me explain to those people who are not ecclesiastites yet. Now, I know some of you are asking, well, what the hell is an ecclesiastite? I should probably put this on the website. Refer people to it. That is a very good idea. I came up with a very good idea. Yeah, a very, very good idea. It's a good idea. Very good idea. Yeah, very bad impression of Rain Man. But I will put the definition of ecclesiastite on the website, rodeccles.net, so I don't have to explain it here. You'll have to check later for that definition. I mean, it's a good thing. It's not ecclesiastites it's a good thing. And if you're familiar with the Bible, you'll recognize the word Ecclesiastes. There are some people out there that are full on Bible thumping Bible toters, and they'll probably think that that's blasphemous. But no, I'm not using the Lord's. The Lord didn't name the books of the Bible. He didn't name them. We did. Mankind did, so we could understand what part, what God was doing and saying at what time and what part that he was trying to, what subject he was trying to impart on us. We named it. So I'm not taking the Lord's words or the Lord himself in vain. I'm just talking about the name that we humans named a particular book of the Bible. So those of you who are going to try to, blast me on that, you're way off. Don't even try. You won't even come close to winning that argument. So name, and I'll just say this: show me anywhere in the Bible where God gave a name to a book. Can't really think of anywhere that God gave a name to a book. He didn't name the book of Genesis. No, he didn't name it the book of Revelation. He didn't name it the book of, of the apostles Matthew, Luke, or John, or he didn't name any of the books that Paul wrote. He didn't. I don't recall reading any of that in the Bible where God put a name to a particular book, the Bible, or chapter, or what have you. The Bible's pretty big. I could have missed it. I could have forgotten it. There might be a passage or two in there somewhere that I cannot remember and I cannot recall. But as far as I know, as far as I can recollect, which also reminds me, look, you can have a religious litmus test. The president is out there saying, well, we can't have a religious litmus test. Well, how Christian is that if you're only going to accept Christians? Well, how is it that you're not accepting Christians, Mr. President? I mean, so far, what is it? We've accepted nearly 3,000 refugees. I think that's the last number. It's close to 3,000. Less than 50 of them have been Christian. I don't know. I think that you're using, Mr. President, you're using a litmus test on religion based on the fact that if they're Christians, they don't get to come here. So, yes, we can use a litmus test. We can use a litmus test for anything that we want. There is nothing illegal or immoral about that. You want certain people to come here that are going to be able to interact, to meld with, and to assimilate into your culture so they do not become a problem. What you do not want is a bunch of people coming here that cannot assimilate for whatever reason. And in this particular case, it would be Muslims who cannot assimilate because they do not agree with and cannot agree with our way of life and our Constitution. It does not match their religion. In no way can it match it. They cannot fathom it ever matching because it can't, it's impossible. They are diametric. It's like having a communist. Let's say communism is a religion. Well, actually, it kind of is. But let's just say it's a full-blown religion. Are you going to accept a communist into your, a bunch of communists into your country, knowing that they cannot assimilate, knowing that they cannot meld with your Constitution because communism obviously is the opposite of liberty and freedom? Of course. So this whole notion that we can't have a litmus test is a bunch of bunk, quite frankly. We'll get into it when we get back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.